We're recording now. All right. Well, welcome to Demasked. We've got Scare Factor today. Please introduce yourselves.
So I'm Tyler, and this is Nora. We are the co-owners of the Scare Factor, not the creators, but the current owners.
Okay,
and we're also
cool.
the main writers and editors for Team Zombillies, which is one of the teams for the Scare Factor. So
Okay, cool. So you guys are like the co-owners of Scare Factor. How did that all come to be? Like,
yeah,
how'd you get your
so
start in it?
yeah, so me and Nora got together, I think 2007, and started hitting things off. And she's like, "Well, let's go to a haunted house," and I'm like, "Wait, what? What's a haunted house?" I'd never been to one. And she started telling me what it is, and I'm like, why in the hell would somebody pay good money to get the shit scared out of them? I couldn't understand it, and cause I didn't really do horror movies or any of that, so I was definitely infected by the Halloween bug. And basically, push came to shove, and I was given an ultimatum: you're either going to go to haunted houses and like them, or we're going to do something different. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll try a haunted house. And yeah, first one I went to was Baxter Avenue Morgue down here in Louisville, Kentucky. And I was hooked, hook, line, and sinker ever since then. So we started going to haunted houses, about 20 of them a year or so, just for fun, because we liked it. And we started figuring out, hey, wonder if we can do some reviews for these, and started hitting up some of the local haunt review sites, Ohio Valley Haunts and the Scare Factor. Ohio Valley Haunts wasn't looking for anybody, and the Scare Factor had a big button on the front page of their site that said "Become a Scream Team for the Scare Factor," and we're like, okay. And then, so at the time, I think there was 3 or 4 teams. We started going to 25, 30, 35 haunts in a season, which was more than all the other teams combined, and started really growing the Scare Factor page. The Team Zombillies page actually became bigger than the Scare Factor page. Mm-hmm. People were knowing us for Team Zombillies and not the Scare Factor, and we're like, wait, this has got to be the other way around, So we got a hold of the owner, Tom Schaefer. He was actually the creator, and Tom was actually a former haunt owner up in Toledo, Ohio. So he's the one that created all the criteria and this idea of having multiple teams using the same criteria, and they're reviewing all over the country. But anyway, we went to Tom and we're like, hey, can we do some updates on the website here? Like, here it is, 2012, 2013, and your awards page still says 2007. Smartphones are starting to become a thing, and being mobile friendly websites, and the Scare Factor used the old Flash software that was not mobile friendly at all. And we're like, we got to do some updates here. And he's like, I can't do it. It costs money, and I can't do it. And we're like, well, can we give you money? And we're like, can we go start our own website? He's like, whoa, wait. He's like, if you're talking about doing all this stuff, he's like, why don't you just buy the Scare Factor? And we're like, come again?
We're like, that's an option.
Yeah. So we got to talking and came to an agreement, and we purchased the Scare Factor in 2013, I think, maybe 2014. Uh-huh. And that's also when the Haunted House Directory was born. We wanted to scale the idea of adding on new teams, coverage, coast to coast, and maybe even international, which we have now gone international. And we wanted a way to remember where all these haunted houses were. And so we're like, hey, we've got this website, we've got this database, like we can store all the haunts on here, and thus the directory was born. And that's really when the Scare Factor popularity took off. Being able to have the Google Maps on there and look around to see what all the haunts are near you. And
yeah, we had a lot of that already. It was just like for our personal use. Mm-hmm. And we're like, wait a minute, maybe we should just go ahead and start sharing this with other people.
Yeah.
Right. You guys did a great service for the haunted house industry. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Just like, I like even, haunts I don't even know anything about. I like to go on there and read about their haunt reviews. And so that's really awesome that there's something out there that's like a big directorial, got reviews of all different haunted houses from, it seems like from every level. It seems like you guys go to like super professional haunted houses, and you do some of the lower level stuff too. And I think that's really cool.
There's no haunt too big or small. We like to promote everybody. So.
Yeah. What is some of your like criteria that you look for? Because you guys been through so many haunted houses. What is some of the criteria you really look for when you go in and review a place?
So the original 8 categories that Tom gave us were cast, costuming, customer service, atmosphere, special effects, theme, fright effect, and value. And then here about 3 years ago or so, we actually took 2 of those categories and combined them because we noticed a lot of haunts and just an overall trend in the industry shifting towards immersion and kind of like storytelling and keeping customers involved, outside of the actual haunted house experience, out in the midway and the gift shop, that sort of thing. And we tried to figure out a way to give credit for that because it's good for the customer experience. So we took theme and we took
atmosphere,
and we combined those into a category called immersion. And so now we have 7 categories instead of 8, but it still basically encompasses the same thing. We still look at storyline and that sort of thing, but
we don't score so much on like theme though. Like if a haunt's running like clowns, we would score on, okay, is there a storyline for these clowns? Like, why are they here? Why are they in the middle of the woods? Or like, what's going on here? So we want to give credit, like when haunts are like, oh, well, this happened and this happened, and you can tell that too while going through. So it took a lot of pulling Tyler's hair out to get him to like remove a category.
I really wanted to keep those sacred 8 review categories, but yeah.
So and then fright effect, we moved to the scare factor about 4 years ago because we thought, well, that should probably be named scare factor. So we did that.
Okay. That's cool. I mean, that is your name for your factor. That would make sense,
Yep.
And for each,
so how many?
For each of the 7 categories, that's okay. For each of the 7 categories, we've got an Excel sheet. It's like a whole big score sheet, and there's like 20 or 30 some different questions, like usually between 4 and 5 for each question, or for each category. So after we leave a haunt, we go through the score sheet and we actually go ahead and write down our scores, and it actually does a weighted average to give us our scores. So that's how, we have like 2 decimal points on all of our review scores and everything. It's because it's math and the spreadsheet spits it out.
And they make for good tiebreakers.
Yes, it makes for. There's very few ties. There's not very many haunts that are going to get the exact same score, like a 4 out of 5 stars or 5 out of 5. We can actually split the hairs and show the differences in those. So
cool. That's awesome. So do you guys usually, how long do you wait to write the reviews after going through a haunt?
So we go ahead and knock out the scores as soon as we leave, and then we'll go ahead and make a few cliff notes, before we hit the next haunt. We try to give at least a brain dump onto a piece of paper for every haunt before we go to another one, even if we're going to 2 or 3 in the same night. And we have a pretty strict deadline for all of our teams, where if you go to a haunt and review, it has to be published and posted within 7 days of when you went to that haunt. So we try to make it as fast as possible, getting them back online.
Yeah, usually the first haunt that we go to for a weekend on Friday, we would have that review started and sometimes done by Sunday night if we didn't go to anywhere Sunday. So
that makes sense. Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot of, because your guys' reviews are like very in depth. It seems like, and I'm sure it's a lot of typing and editing and all that stuff. So
for sure, yeah.
We try to enforce like a 1,500 word minimum, and Nora and I's, they end up being 2,000-3,000.
Yeah. I think we had a Scream Park this year that was at like 6,000. It's like, well. Yeah. But the haunts themselves like to read all of that too. So we're like, well, it makes it worth it if somebody's reading it and enjoys it. But most of the customers just want to know what the scores are. But
right, yeah, and I can say from working at haunts that do get reviewed, they use it to like critique their like stuff for the next year. You know what I'm saying? So it could be like, oh, there's carpet in a graveyard scene, and that doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And then they're like, yeah, maybe we should pull that out. That probably did seem weird.
Maybe monks would do the same thing and make more sense, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I'm I'm sure you guys know by that. I act at Hellscream Haunted House here in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Yeah.
And
We got to come out and see you guys this year.
that was awesome.
yeah. it's a wild time, that's for sure. We've seen our friends at Tearing the Corn too, so
yes.
real
Watched
cool
your interview
folks.
with Bart. That looked really good and very informative.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy how many places he's been, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then while we were over there, I think we did 9 haunts total. And the time we were there. So it was fun.
I started haunting when I was like, I think it was like 13 or 14 when I started haunting in Canyon City. There's a little haunt there that's ran by the rec district called Aftermath. And that's where I really got into like haunting and stuff like that. And then I eventually moved here to Springs and got involved with Hellscream. And it's been really cool since. They're really cool people over there. So what is
I talked to Jesse a little bit before we left, and it seemed like a real good bunch.
Yeah. And if you guys don't know, I played the Demasked character upstairs. That kept annoying the hell out of you with the 2 personalities. That's my thing. I should have brought my mask over here.
Right. Well, you guys will have to go watch our video and you'll see him.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Tyler might be in the video. Yeah. Sometimes we have to cut some characters out not to show the whole haunt, but
right. Yeah. Is that something you guys run into, is like haunts don't want you to publish certain things, or what?
We run into everything imaginable when it comes to videos. It's so new in the industry that like it's all over the place. It's really different. So some of them are still what we call stuck in the box or boomers that don't believe that anything should be filmed because it gives everything away. So some of them, still will not entertain the idea of inside footage at all. Some of them just want, like, the 60% rule seems to go well for us. So show about 60% of the haunt. So that one works probably the most for us for haunts that are like, I just don't want the entire show shown. And then there's haunts that have like their brand new scenes. So they're like, can you either skip those, or we have haunts that are like, absolutely show them. It's completely different. And to be honest, like during season, we weren't making notes, and we filmed 43 haunts just in September and October last year. And we really should have like made notes per haunt, because we were sitting here going, what did he say again? So it's completely different, and then like we have a Scream Park that is selfie style only, but it's the only haunt we've done that was selfie style only. But I think little did they know that we have a very wide angle camera, so it really didn't matter. But it was a fun one. If you haven't seen it, it's different. It's funny to see our reactions more close up. So
so I'm sure you guys just got hard drives and hard drives full of video from haunts.
Between the haunts and I think I've got just this season. Between the haunts and our paranormal investigations, I filled up a 12 terabyte external hard drive this year. So
yeah, we actually have one in the mail on the way, and it's delayed, so we're needing that.
I think it's like a 28 terabyte or something. Like we need a big one.
I believe that video takes up so much space. It's crazy.
That new camera we got, it was the big full frame Sony, and I turned the resolution on, or the bit rate, whatever you call it, all the way up, and it was hogging. I had a 256 gig card, and it only hold like an hour and a half for the footage. It was massive file sizes. But they come out looking really good, and we got a lot of compliments on it. So
we did have to turn it down though, because like the paranormal ones, we do 8-hour investigations, so we can't keep that, so we're going to try turn it down, see what happens. And we have horrible internet here, so loading that stuff takes a while.
How'd you guys get into doing like the paranormal stuff?
So like for me, I got Tyler into the haunted house bug. And as a kid, I always was into like anything spooky, scary, Halloween, paranormal. Just kind of always would go out and investigate cemeteries with my friends. Like my mom and dad would be mad at me because they're like, you're out there partying on a Friday night. And I'm like, nope, I'm just out here walking around a cemetery, I swear. And that's what I would be doing. Like I've just always been that like creepy little kid that just is like, oh, I'm going to go over here while everybody else is doing that and go wander off by myself. So When we started dating back in 2007, I wanted to do all of the haunted things, and I got him into the haunted attractions. And for the paranormal, I took him to a few places that I like to go that are local. And every time we would go, nothing would ever happen to Tyler. He would just like
be passed out.
Yeah, he would get bored, and he's like, I don't hear anything. And of course, I wasn't hearing or seeing anything either. So I'm like, well, this is not as fun as it seemed to be a couple years ago. So we kind of quit for a little bit. And then we host an annual Monster Bash at the end of every year, which is basically our award ceremony for all the haunters. And we do this party at a haunted house, and we usually have some kind of food, and we do a drag show and a lot of different things. And we did this in Louisville one year, and Waverly Hills contacted us and said, we heard you guys were doing this party. If your attendees are interested in coming over after the party and paying for individual tours, we'd be willing to open up the building to let them come through in like groups of 20. So we did this because we're like, well, who doesn't want to go to Waverly Hills, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So we do this. And so for Tyler getting into the paranormal with me, we were at Waverly that night, and he's got to tell a story.
So yeah, we get up there in our group. We're one of the last groups of the night because, you know, we're running the party, and we're like, we'll just go last. And then so we get up, I think it's either the second or third floor. I can't remember for sure, but we just got up top of a set of stairs, and we was getting ready to go down one of the big long hallways. And I turned around the opposite direction, and I had my phone out. I had it on night sight because they asked everybody not to do flash photography, and of course everybody in the group's doing flash and got their phone flashlights out and ruining the darkness. You got zero night vision, so I turned around the opposite way, trying to take a night shot picture into the darkness here. And as soon as I hit the button for the long exposure, I hear a voice come into this ear right here and said, "I apologize for the sound of my illness." And I'm like, I don't know if you could hear that on the microphone, but it said, "I apologize for the sound of my illness."
And it's a tuberculosis hospital.
It's a tuberculosis hospital, real low, raspy voice like that. And like Nora is standing about 6 feet away from me, and I knew that it wasn't her, and I knew there was nobody standing next to me, but I'm like, I'm sitting here holding this phone as still as I can, and I'm like, it's okay, you don't have to apologize, you know. And then as soon as the camera gets done, of course I didn't get anything on the picture, but I turned and looked at Nora, and I'm like, Nora, what was just standing next to me? Who was just here? And she looked at me like I had 3 eyeballs, and they're like, she said, nobody was standing there. And I'm like, somebody just talked to me.
And I'm like, huh? Does that mean we can go ghost hunting more? He's like, that was different. Like, that really piques my interest. So
I'm like, okay.
So from that day, we started talking to different people about his experience and got a pretty good group of friends going with us. And we figured out that most of our Scare Factor Scream teams also like to go ghost hunting. So we will be doing a lot more of that this year, actually, for the off season. So
at least for the YouTube channel. And, you know, because we're the Scare Factor, we look out scares in all different sorts of ways. So
ultimately, that's what got us into paranormal, though. We like scary stuff. So yeah.
Okay. That's cool. That's a pretty cool story. I've never really encountered anything paranormal. I always say that me and my girlfriend, you know, we went to Zach Bacon's last year, and we're like right after I got the flu, like the day after we went. So we always joke that I got cursed from the
right.
What did you touch?
Yeah, that was
told
the thing.
you not to touch anything. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's what happened there. How many different like review teams and stuff do you guys have? Because obviously you guys are Team Zombillies, but what are the other teams out there?
So currently we have 27 active teams, and they are literally all over.
Everywhere from North Carolina to California.
Our most recent one is United Kingdom. They did still review over 10 haunts last year. So, I mean, they were new during season last year. But yes, we've got a lot of thick coverage here in the Midwest. But that's because Ohio itself has over 100 haunts. So we could probably have 2 more teams in Ohio and still not hit them all. So, but yeah, we have a team out there where you guys are, of course. But there's not a whole lot of West coverage. There's one in California, one in Washington,
one in New Mexico,
and there's one in Utah. But there's a whole lot of space out there that where we
Yeah.
need additional coverage. So hopefully we'll find some people that are interested and just as passionate about haunts as we are, because it takes a lot of passion to write these reviews. So
I'm
we're
sure.
always looking to add new teams wherever we don't have existing coverage. There is if you get on any of the the main review pages on the site, there's a review teams button not too far away or down at the bottom, and there's a map that shows exactly where all the teams are. And if you're outside of a couple hours away from any of those dots, anywhere where any of those teams are, there's a good chance we can use you. So
and then for haunts listening, we have a page on our website that's where the review teams are. You can find it from the review page, and it has every team's name and then the team members and their experience, their bios, and it also tells how long they've been reviewing with us. So we've got anywhere from the apprentice teams all the way to there's masters on there now. We probably need to update it after season, but yeah, we like to keep track of, like, if we're sending a new team, they may not get quite as detailed as some of the rest of us. So
that makes it comes with experience, I'm sure.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's just so much going. I'm sure there's just like so much going on when you walk into these places, and so easily get distracted from like what you're looking for. I'm sure that it's easy. Now, do you guys ever actually get jump scared or anything like that, or
I
you guys
absolutely
pretty
do.
desensitized to it? Yeah,
It's actually gotten worse since we started videoing.
Yeah. So while we were reviewing, we had a specific haunt owner that, like, he met us after we come out of the haunt, and he's like, so I was watching you guys walk through on the camera, and I noticed that you guys weren't scared at all. And he was like, so I feel like you can't accurately score the haunt because you're just not getting scared. And if you're not acting scared, it's hard for the cast to feed into you.
right.
And we told him, like, when we see things like a drop panel, even if it's right next to me and I look at it and I see it happen, and it may not scare me because I knew it was coming, we still consider that stuff. And while that is very true, like, we do take into consideration what would scare the average haunt goer, we had to kind of mentally make ourselves go back to getting scared. So we've actually talked to a lot of people about this recently, about how to train yourself to get scared. So we had to, like, walk through the haunt and pretend like we've never been there before if it's some place that we're familiar with. And you just kind of have to play this mental game of, I know somebody's hiding there, but they're not, and look away from them and just pretend like you have no idea what's going on. So, like, if you watch the videos and see me jumping and screaming, that's 100% real. And I'm a big scaredy cat anyway. But after you go to like 40 in a season, you do start to be like, okay, I know that lattice is going to open and somebody's going to come through it or whatever it may be. And now we just look at the lattice and go, I don't know if that's the lattice that will move or not, and just keep on going. And then that gives that actor that chance to, because if you're looking, if you know they're going to come out, you're like looking at them, and that's what you got to avoid doing.
Yeah, if we're always looking under all the beds and looking in all the closets and looking around all the corners, then we're never going to get jump scared. But if we're focused on the things that a normal customer is going to look at, if we're just looking at the cool props on the wall or the big animatronic that's getting ready to come out or whatever, then we're letting our guard down and leaving ourselves susceptible.
So we're distracting ourselves with the actual haunt itself and not the things that are trying to sneak up on us.
I'm sure having the camera helps too, because you're focusing on making sure you're getting the shots are okay and all that. So I'm sure that helps you get caught off guard more often, you know. But
it actually really helped for reviews too, because now we have a visual reference we can go back
help.
and look at.
Right.
Yep, I told you what that actor said. Yep.
Right.
And then when we did the selfie style, we were blinded, so we couldn't see anything coming at us. So we were both like screaming all the way through these haunts because we had no idea what was going on. It was great. It was
awesome and terrible all at the same time. It was like, I can't see a goddamn thing. They were coming out of the woodwork. Oh, it was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, my goal is, like, if there's someone that's not scared, whatever, I'm there to entertain you, you know. So if I can't scare you, I'm gonna try to make you laugh. I'm gonna tell you something stupid that's gonna make you laugh, because then at least I get a reaction out of you. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we're there to be entertainment. You know what I'm saying? People paid to be yeah, it's scary and all that, but people at the end of the day want to be entertained. So my
Definitely
philosophy
put
is
priority on being scared because there's a lot of places they can go to be entertained. You want to try to scare first, but
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
if it's a
Right.
hard ass that is just absolutely not going to get scared, then go for entertainment. There's a lot of actors we're noticing that are
Actually doing
starting-
entertainment first.
They're starting
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
entertainment and,
Yeah.
and not really doing much of the scary part. And it's like, you know, so if any actors out there, keep focused on scaring first. You know,
right. Yeah. Well, when I do that, I never like break character per se. I'm still my intense character, but I'll just say something that's just like so out of left field that it's just it just scrambles people's brains. Like
Yep.
one instance to me this past season is there's like a couple that came through and the dude was trying to be all macho and he blew me a kiss and I was like, I'll kiss you right on the lips. Like I bet you won't kiss me. And his girlfriend got so jealous. It was so funny.
Right?
Oh wow, yeah. So you gotta mess with them.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing is like if someone comes in and you know they're acting a fool, I just go over the top and just be more stupid than they are. And it's really funny to see like their friends because their friends know what their friends are really like. So it's just really funny to see like the reaction between them and their friends and watch their friends get outdone. It's so funny.
Right,
So-
right. I don't know how some of you characters never laugh at people like where we can see it because
Oh my god, yeah.
there's no way I could do it. I couldn't hide my no.
If you were to ever be a character, it would have to be allowed to laugh. That's for sure.
Allowed to laugh, or you wouldn't be able to hear or see my mouth or something because
Right. Have you guys ever done any like haunted house acting or anything like that? No.
I've acted in like the little local haunted trail that was put on one year, but that is it.
That was when you were.
Shoot, I was in junior high.
Yeah.
So that's been
That was way before we
quite a
even
while.
got together. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Mhm.
I was
We have not.
curious, do you know?
You know, we try to stay very customer experience, focused, and of course we do have several teams that have worked in haunts, so we're able to bounce ideas off of them and help with our our scoring, our criteria, and make sure that we're looking at things fairly from both sides. But ultimately, the haunted house goer, the enthusiast, is our audience, so we try to be very focused on that.
And if we work in one, because we've had a lot ask us, can you volunteer for like MHC? And we're afraid to do that because we don't want to work somewhere and then be biased when it comes to review season. So we just kind of.
Well, you gave them a 9 because you worked there and you liked them.
We try to avoid that.
Yeah.
Do you guys run into like haunted houses wanting you to take down your reviews and stuff like that? Do you run into that at all?
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On occasion,
It's
gotten
not-
better here
yeah,
lately, but
it's been-
when we were first figuring out the our groove and how everything worked.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had a few takedown notices, and then
It's
but
probably
then,
been a couple years though. You're right, since somebody's actually asked us to take one down. And usually when they ask us to take it down, they want us to take all haunt information off the website, and it really makes them mad when we tell them no, that we can actually legally have their name and their address and all of that as long as we don't use their artwork. We're legal. And we can legally post a review as long as it doesn't actually contain any libel, which is your online version of slander.
libel or slander.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not claiming to be them, so we're just sharing public information is all we're doing. We're not infringing on copyright or anything like that. It's like Google sharing your website. It's
right.
There are 2 haunts that Tyler and I are banned from. No other teams got banned from them. It was actually us. And both of those are ones that still to this day probably want us to take the reviews off the site. And matter of fact, we need to go make sure that they're still showing because they're not coming down.
Yeah.
And they're not bad reviews either.
Nope.
Just for the record, they are not.
We encourage people to attend. And
yeah. But once we go and then they tell us not to come back and to take the review down, we want to keep that review up because there was a reason why we went there, and we're just going to have to keep the same old review, even though it's probably still pretty accurate for some of these places. So.
Right.
But yeah, so we have definitely been asked to take them down. We've had people upset over like a 9.5 score, and people not upset over a 6.
Absolutely
like
thrilled over a 6.
Yeah. So from the time we started reviewing as Team Zombillies in 2010, this has been like a roller coaster for us because every single haunt you go to has its, like they all have their own thing when it comes to everything, filming and reviewing. And some of them don't want to know when you're there. And most of them that we go to do want to know when you're there, but we don't tell them like way in advance or anything. It's interesting to learn all of this stuff. So like we have some of the new teams come to us and we try to tell them things and we're like, please listen to this because there's a reason to why we're telling you this.
Right. That's crazy. So how many this season, how many haunted houses would you guys say you guys went to this season?
During season we did
just Nora and I
54.
We went to
54. That's a lot.
It is
all
definitely
over.
a lot, yeah.
Site wide, I think we almost broke 200.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two. Wow. But 54. And that was just all over the United States, or?
It was mostly over here, but we did do Colorado, and then we did another one that was kind of far too.
Did we do Michigan this year?
Not during review season. We've been to so many during off season too.
We went to Chicago.
Yeah, we went to Chicago. That's where it was, and we went up to Wisconsin for a little bit.
Wisconsin, abandoned. Yep.
But mostly we were in Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio. But there's just so many here that it like keeps us here. Like
it's almost hard to get out and go see new ones and keep adding new content to the website and to the YouTube channel without also taking care of our buddies back home, you know?
Yeah, because they've been used to Tyler and I visiting them since 2010, a lot of these haunts. So when we tell them, like, can we have a new team come? And they're like,
like, we want you guys.
Yeah. And so we're trying to, kind of break that mold and try to, we're training all of our teams. We want all of our teams to score as similarly as we can, especially in the same area. So we have like behind the scenes training that we do and stuff to try to make sure everybody's scoring what they see as an 8 is similar as everyone else. But
and we like to travel around and get to meet all the teams that we're bringing on too.
Yes, as much as we can. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Just for new. Well, yeah, like when we went out to see you guys, we met up with Andrew and Nikki. They're our Denver team, and then here a couple weeks ago, we went down to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and not only did we get to meet one of our Tennessee teams, we also got to meet the Atlanta, Georgia team. So it was always like getting out and seeing new places and meeting the people that are doing all this hard work, just like we are.
Just like a labor of love, I'm sure. It's a lot of dedication.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
we sell a couple ad spots. I'll put it that I will disclaim that we sell a few ads, and so but that keeps the website running, and it puts a little gas in the tank every once in a while. But it's definitely not a full-time gig, that's for sure. But
no. That's I was just explaining that to my boss at like my day job, because she was like, oh, you do this podcast and stuff like that. I'm like, no, like I still have to have a full-time job. Like haunted house is a very niche thing, you know what I'm saying? And there's very
niche and seasonal.
Yeah, and there's very few folks out there that get to do it full time, you know what I'm saying? Most people are, even in haunt season, they're working their regular job and plus getting the haunt ready and doing haunt stuff. So it's a labor of love. That's
absolutely
sure.
Yes.
What is some of your guys's like pet peeves, like going into haunts? Like, what are some of the like pet peeves that?
Oh man, I think we've done 3 episodes on this on our podcast.
But we break it down by category. But I'm gonna try to think of like.
So like overused phrases. Is kind of one.
That's
like
one
if
of our
we ever go in
ones.
and we hear a get out or a fresh meat, those are 2 like, oh my god, and you just immediately eyes roll in the back of your head like, oh, it's another one of these guys, Or
the constant screaming in the ear.
Oh, that's worse.
That's really bad.
I can't stand when there's these female actors or even male actors that just scream and have nothing else to say or do. It's like taking notes. But
then there's also the ones that don't say anything, but they also don't like have a purpose. So like they're there and they're getting
like,
paid to be there, but they just sit there like they're fake and they don't like try to stalk or anything. They just are there. While we were in Colorado, I'm not going to name drop any names, but there was a haunt that we hit on a Sunday that was probably 60% of actors like that.
Oh, wow.
And
Crazy.
I legitimately left that haunt mad, and I don't ever leave a haunt mad, and I was mad.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was not. No.
It was
and they
terrible.
had like 70 actors out there too. It
Oh,
was
wow.
like, it wasn't that they weren't staffed appropriately. They were just,
Yeah.
I don't.
They put on a mask and, it's like if they got 2 feet and a heartbeat, they can come work, So
Yeah.
like they throw a mask and a costume on them, no direction.
And I get that sometimes, like, some places there are spots for that, but this one had every spot was seemingly like this. And then the ones that did talk were doing the whole get out or want to play or where are you going? And it was just like exactly what you shouldn't do in a haunted house the whole way through. Like they even had multiple attractions and the second haunt wasn't lit up at all. So Tyler had to walk up to the sign to go into their outdoor section with his phone light to read the sign.
I'm like, what the hell's the name of this haunt?
Mm-hmm. So that's another one of our big ones is, for me personally, and I know some haunt owners disagree, but for me, I want to be able to tell that you have a haunted house attraction from driving by. So like if I drive by there, I need to be able to go, oh shit, that's a haunted house over there, either with a hearse or something spooky up front or a giant sign or something. And it's a major pet peeve when we show up to places and there's just nothing. I think that there are people that will stop and pull in just for interest, especially if they see like the big spotlights. They'll be like, or the searchlights, they'll be like, what is that? So that's a huge, huge pet peeve of mine. A new one that I'm starting to get, which probably shouldn't, but I do, is haunts that don't have gift shops now, because like it's all become like this memortainment thing where people want to go to a haunt for memories and entertainment, and they want to keep part of it. So there's a lot of places that if they do sell merch, it's very limited and it's hard to get it because you like have to go stand in the main ticket line to get it. Right. And if I've gone through the haunt and I've already got my tickets and been there, done that, I'm not going to go stand in that line again to buy a t-shirt. So like that's becoming a really bigger pet peeve of mine than I thought it would be until we go to places and I'm like, do you have a sticker? Do you have a shirt? Like, I want to support you guys. And they're like, no, or go back over there and stand there. Back inside the haunt though, let's see. There's so many that let's see.
Actors that stop acting, like for us, like if we don't give a huge immediate reaction, and if they don't get that feedback from us that they're hoping for, maybe we're the 10th group in a row that didn't react and they're just getting frustrated or something, they just turn around and walk off. It's like, oh well, I guess that's all we get,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Another one is like always targeting the front of the group or the person that seems scared the most. Like I feel like that should be spread out between everybody, and it should actually be built that way into the haunt to where you're targeting different areas of the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like seeing step pads either. That's kind of like, I know the first person in the group, if they see them, they like to step on them to scare their friend behind them. So that's like one of the main reasons why I don't like seeing those, but sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been doing that acting thing for a good while. So I have like pet peeves and stuff. Like I see other actors doing it and I'm like, hey, you shouldn't say get out. And this is the reason why. Because people who come through haunted houses hear that all the time and it breaks the illusion. You know, I think about it as like customers are walking through a horror movie that's acted out in front of them. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, yeah. One instance this last season is I noticed there's a first year haunt acting, and I noticed they were growling get out. Like it took me like a couple hours, that night, and I finally noticed they like kept on growling get out, and I was like, stop doing that. Right. There's a million other things you can say besides get out. So yeah,
when we look at it like, well, we just paid to get in. We don't want to get out. We want you to scare us. It's like,
Yeah.
There's only a few times where it's okay, like get out, he's coming for you. Maybe if you need him to get out of the room.
If it's like
but
a warning from a victim,
Yeah.
maybe. But
Yeah.
there needs to be more to the dialogue than just get out, not some 14-year-old girl pointing at the door saying, "Get out!" And it's like,
Yeah.
no, you get out. Like, fired.
Fired. Yeah, we have this thing where we like to watch videos, including our own, and we're like fired when we see somebody doing. We wouldn't have any actors. Like we would have an actorless haunt if we
would have a museum.
Yeah, we would.
We would have a museum.
Yeah. You just have a museum. Fired. That's
funny. Another pet peeve, we'll go makeup for a second. Like there's two big ones for us. The one is obviously keeping your masks tucked in. Like that's a huge one. We see that a lot. And then the one that we see like a lot is not contouring the makeup under where the eye holes are for masks.
Doing your basic
black or
under your eye
whatever
holes
color
and
it
the mouth
is.
hole, and you still see skin underneath of a black or white or whatever color mask you got. You can still see the human flesh right here. It's like that's fake, It's like
we see that a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
I try when I do my makeup, I try to match it with the mask because I've worn those silicone masks for a while now, so and I love them.
You love the silicone?
Yeah, they're really divisive, amongst actors, but I love it because after a long night, I had my day job and haunt. After a long day, it's easy to clean up from, right? I just got to clean the blood and gunk off my arms and clean, what skin was on my face exposed for the night, versus if I have a full face of makeup and latex, because latex is a real pain to get off and all that stuff. That could be a whole process to get cleaned up at the end of the night. So just for me personally, I like the easy cleanup, and the mask looks really cool.
Interesting.
I'd probably be the same way. I used to work at a coal-fired power plant, so it was very, very, very hot in there for long hours at a time. And I could probably deal with a little bit of sweating for a quicker cleanup at the end of the night.
I was gonna say, do you sweat a lot in it over there in Colorado? Because there's not really a whole lot of humidity there. So do you sweat like crazy?
I like I usually put the mask underneath my undershirt because I wear it like a shirt, like a black shirt like this, and then I wear a costume over it usually. But I tuck the mask here, and the sweat will be so bad that my shirt is like drenched. I can wring my shirt out, and then that even if it's like 30 degrees outside, I still can. Yeah. Same with my knee pads. I always wear knee pads too. And you can see the sweat stains on my costume pants from the knee pads. It gets real grody. But also, I'm one of those actors that runs around the whole night and being all crazy.
You're gonna have that, and your costume looks worn in instead of brand new, because that's also a pet peeve: is costumes that don't look like they just look like you just bought it and just threw it on and nothing else.
They look clean.
Looks like it just came from Spirit.
Yeah.
So I do wash my costume throughout the season, and then afterwards it gets like smattering of blood and charcoal powder and all that fun makeup stuff. So I try not to look too clean ever, because I feel like especially if you work in a themed haunt and your theme's like Victorian or something like that, you got spider webs everywhere. If it's an old addict, there's going to be dust and nastiness,
Right.
So, yeah, it's a good time.
You should look like you've been living in your surroundings, is a good way to put it.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. If you're in a field, for instance, you should probably be some dirt and some mud and all that good jazz. That's,
yeah, we like dirty zombies. Not really clean ones, but
clean zombies.
Yeah, we've seen way more clean ones than dirty ones, I would say.
Yeah. The masks are really divisive because people sweat a lot. And I've been I've worked in restaurants my whole life, and so the hot doesn't bother me because I'm used to standing in front of a grill or a stove or whatever all day anyway. So it's whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I find that like the going back to the passion thing, like actors who come from like drama, like stage acting, aren't necessarily always the best fit for haunt, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I
yeah,
feel like the best ones are more of those that aren't taught to entertain the audience with a script, and rather the ones that need to go scriptless and entertain. So, like, you have to entertain these people based on how they're reacting, and it's got to be people that can learn an audience for sure.
yeah, for sure. What is like some of the like busiest haunts you've been to? Like, have you ever showed up and had to wait in line or anything like that?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the
I would
longest you ever
say,
waited?
oh, we've waited 4 hours for the
3-4
haunted
hours.
hoochie before
Oh, okay.
over
Yeah.
in Ohio. I would say the one that we showed up to that was like the busiest we've ever seen was we went over to Statesville Haunted Prison when they were still open, and
Oh,
it was
man.
in 2016, I think. And we showed up, and it was the property was a lot larger than most of the haunts in Indiana anyway. And B, their entire parking lot was full that night. And I don't know how big it is, but it's freaking huge. And we had to park
Right.
way back in the back 40.
Mhm.
And when we saw that, we were looking at each other like, holy hell, this is a good haunted house if it's this packed, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then, we didn't have to wait too long there.
No,
they were
they-
nice and let us bypass the line, but they do throw you into a, what did they call it? The pit. They throw you into this
dog cage.
and they make you sing Backstreet Boys songs on a microphone before you go in, and I'll just never forget that. But that's part of their wait before you go like right in. But I would
that's cool.
say
it was for us anyway.
Yeah.
They
It
made
was embarrassing, but not like we didn't care. But a lot of people were very embarrassed. But
Mhm.
I'd
Yeah.
say an hour is a pretty typical wait for us. I mean, a lot of haunts do offer to skip the line for us if we can. Just
Yeah.
because we're always on our way to like 2 or 3 in a night. So, but during
Right.
the off season, we just want to be us usually. So we just go out and stand in the hour, 2 hours, depending on where we are,
We like standing in the queues at least for a little bit because it
Mhm.
lets us, as reviewers, take in that whole side of things and let us know what kind of queue entertainment there is. And
The 4-hour wait at the Hoochie though was not. I would like to not do that again.
yeah,
Right.
That was excessive, but people do it pretty frequently from what I understand. So
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
So
that was before VIP was a thing too, though.
I think
Like
maybe
we're
Okay.
very big at, we get VIP as much as often. Like if it's offered, we usually grab it. So
Mhm.
right. Yeah.
We've
Because
kind of spoiled ourselves with doing the reviews and with Hans helping us out, getting in, with the lines, and we start getting annoyed pretty quick if there's not some very, very good queue entertainment going on. But
Yeah. If
Right.
there's entertainment out there, though,
The
we
worst-
just
the
watch
wor-
it forever.
the worst ever, I won't call them out because we don't like saying bad things about haunts, but it was up in Chicago, and we got into, so they had like a big zigzag queue line system. Like the whole wall had a projector screen on it, loud like new metal music playing.
Where we couldn't hear each other.
Like we couldn't
this
hardly
close.
talk. Like it was terrible.
Yeah,
We were
it
having
was
to yell.
so loud.
And then we get about halfway through that line to where there's no way to and there's like metal barricades, so it's not like just ropes that you can go under. Like you'd have to crawl and like kick people in the face to get out of the line.
Mm-hmm.
And they stopped us like right smack in the middle and took like the whole house went on like a 30-minute break.
Yep. And when they went on the 30-minute break, we saw a bunch of them come out.
Yeah.
So like,
wow.
hey, haunters, if you ever let your actors on break, try to keep the audience from seeing that, because only one negative thing can make for a negative experience at a haunt. Don't let them see that you're on break, because the customers don't understand it the way that you may see it. Like, and when we saw this after we were already aggravated from standing there, this was a haunt that scores in our top 30 usually every year. And Tyler and I were very, very pissed off just going into it because they had just made us so mad by standing in the line. And then we tried to ask someone if we could upgrade to VIP, and they told us that line was like also an hour long. So we were just
there was probably every bit of 500 people in line, just in the queue line.
This was for an off-season event too.
And
oh wow!
like if you're doing those kind of numbers, you can afford enough actors to do like a staggering break instead of having to stop the whole show, you know?
Yeah.
And the haunt was actually really good, but we couldn't.
It was hard
really
for us to see
enjoy
it that way that night
because we had a chip on our shoulder by the time we got to the door. And Q Entertainment is so important.
Which,
so important.
If we had been reviewing it, we would have scored it fairly, but under that section of entertainment, like entertainment
it would have been
included
hard to
with
give,
the ticket price.
Yeah,
we would have had to have given them a very low score for entertainment in the line because it was just music and darkness. Like it was just
right.
But they have greatly improved it since then.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Do you guys find a lot of haunts have like line actors, like Q line actors, or do you find more haunts are going to more like
most have
music and stuff like that?
A lot of them have music. A lot more are adding music, but most of them around here have both. And then we're starting to see a little bit more of the interactiveness, like different like games you can play, like QR codes you can scan, trivia. We're seeing more stuff like that. We prefer the virtual cues when haunts are able to do it. Like some do an old-fashioned number system where they call numbers or put them on a screen. There's the one haunt over in Pennsylvania does a bell. They ring a bell and then they yell a number over a intercom. Which haunt was that?
It was Demon Acres.
Demon
House.
Demon House.
Yeah. As soon as you check in with the ticket booth, they give your group a number, and then like they write it down on somebody's wristband. And then you're free to go roam about the midway. You get snacks, food, concessions.
They have a movie theater.
They have a whole section like off to the itself, like in a dark area where they project a movie screen and play. But then from anywhere, there's a central, like a big dinner bell, like you'd think old country house, and they go clang 42,
and everybody hears it too. It's really cool. So
that's your group to come up. You know, it's your cue for your group to come up and be on deck, and they sit you down at a bench, and then they can still space the groups out that way. So,
but yeah, most if not all that we went to last year had at least actors, and then I would say it was a close second of all of them having music. But it would be interesting to like write down on a sheet what everybody had just to see. Like now I'm curious.
If there's a trend,
Yeah, like, well, I'm curious to see too is how many of them are doing like something in addition to that. Because there's only so much that some of these actors can do if the same person is standing in line for 2 hours.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. Yeah. It's a challenge, I'm sure, for those actors out there. That's rough. I think the trivia is like a really good ideal, you know. Like just to give some like horror trivia or something, keep folks busy. You know,
a really good idea that we've seen here in Louisville, down at Horrorplex. They've got little like stanchions. They've got probably 5 or 6 of those out in random places in the queue line, so that as you're waiting in line, you walk by each one of them, and they've got like a little light on it, and like they write facts about the backstory of the haunt. So like in their case, their backstory is the Brackenhart Institute, where these German doctors came over and started doing experiments trying to create super soldiers. And there's this whole biological thing that they implant into you called a flesh lumpkin, and that is what gives people these superhuman powers. And like the whole backstory and the flesh lumpkins and the experiment, it's all on these little stanchions as you go throughout, so you get to read up and get the backstory as you're waiting in line. But not only that, they show video trailers showing the backstory and the doctors and the story and what a flesh lumpkin looks like, and like the teratoma cells that they're manufactured from, and like it's pretty very, very elaborate, the amount of immersion and storyline that they put into the pre-haunt area.
Stood in their line for over an hour for one of their events this past season
and didn't mind a bit,
like it wasn't like they came and asked us, do you guys want us to cut, like we had been there for about 30 minutes and he's like, do you want us to cut you up to the front so you can get in sooner? And we're like, nope, we're good standing here in line, because we were having so much fun.
So they had 5 or 6 Q actors out there, and they were all different, and they'd each do their own little thing with us. And
you're going to have some people that just absolutely don't want to wait, but those are the ones like that front of the line admissions for.
They can buy a front of the line pass. Yep.
Right. For sure.
You think an option to get up there.
Yeah.
Take their money.
For sure. Because, you know, I'm always watching like haunted house review walkthroughs and stuff like that online. and something I've noticed is there's a lot of places that are doing like photo opportunities in like queue lines and stuff like that. I think that's a really awesome way because again, it goes back to what you guys were saying with the like experience.
Yes, it's an
You know what I'm
experience.
saying?
Mhm.
It's an experience,
Yeah.
and ultimately, it's like free advertising for your haunt, right?
It is.
People
Yes,
are
make sure you
putting
have
it
your
on their
logo out
Instagram.
there, but yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot here lately, and they don't have the haunt name. And I'm like, hey, you need a sign right there so that every time somebody takes a picture of that and they share it, they're sharing your haunt. So
Right.
remember that part.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Mm.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I just different stuff. I think like with all the technology and stuff like that, like a mixed reality haunted house would be really cool.
Right? Yeah.
Just something
Mhm.
way out
There's
there, you know what I'm saying?
We've done a
somebody-
VR haunt, like a walkthrough haunt, but it was I mean, that would be hard to have at a haunt, but I mean you could.
You're confined to like a
Mhm.
20 by 20 tent, but it was
Yeah,
interesting.
for sure.
I'm thinking somebody said they tried doing some of the mixed reality, so where they put like little images up and you carry your phone
Yeah, I
through,
wanna
or like
say-
an augmented reality, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think Zombie Army was offering something like that, weren't they?
I know they were like for queue line
Mhm.
stuff, but I don't
Okay.
know if they were doing inside. I could be very
That
wrong.
will come to the haunt world eventually, where you can actually
Yeah.
have your phone out and you'll be doing stuff interactively through the show. I'm sure that'll be
Right.
a thing.
I mean, that's an awesome ideal for the queue line. I mean,
Yeah,
it
for the
keeps-
queue line
again,
especially, yes.
yeah, because then it keeps
Mhm.
people busy instead of
Mhm.
it's cold outside and this
Right.
line's an hour long because it's the Saturday before Halloween. Why are we waiting so long?
Yeah, because they don't understand it. They're not like thinking, "Oh, this is the busiest night of the year." They're just thinking, "I paid money to get in here. When are they going to let me in?"
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Somebody, I don't know
I-
if anybody's doing it yet or not, but they need to figure out something to where some type of like a Pokemon Go type of thing or something, but like you're
Mhm.
looking for monsters out in the queue line, and then the more monsters you find, it goes towards like some type of credit towards a shirt back at the gift shop or
I
something.
think Tyler just
like,
came up with our new business idea.
You heard it here first. Everybody watching this needs to sign an NDA right now.
I expect you guys to email the paperwork over. Yeah.
That would be cool,
I'll send
though.
you a copy of the NDA. Yep.
That would
Yeah.
be awesome to be able to do something
Because
like that.
I know some haunts already do like on their slower nights and stuff like that. They already do like stickers and stuff like that. So maybe like if you score so many points, you get a sticker.
Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Just something simple. People love
Heck,
stickers.
people
or
love it. They
pens or
do.
whatever.
They really, really do.
Yeah. It's yeah. It's interesting because I'm kind of a tech nerd, so it's interesting to me to see what the future holds as far as like all that like crazy technology.
Right?
You know.
Mhm.
Because I know they have things like it's called sandbox VR, and it's like in a warehouse, and it's like you're playing laser tag, but it's all virtual. So you still have like the
Huh.
laser tag equipment and stuff like that, but it's virtual. So there's like virtual monsters and stuff like that. Yeah, and they can program like places have it like it's usually like in a warehouse, and have like 5 or 6 different experiences people can choose from when they're out there playing laser tag.
Ooh. Now that
I
makes me.
wonder if that's.
There was a
That's
place
like what we
similar to
tried.
that around here, but we never did make it there. But that sounds like something that would be good
Yeah.
for additional queue entertainment because I'm sure haunt goers would love that. That sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you guys do escape rooms at all, or?
Oh, we do a
love 'em.
lot.
We love them.
Yeah.
Absolutely love 'em.
Yeah.
There's a little escape room side of the website where it's kind of like the haunt directory. We have an escape room directory, but we've honestly not maintained it as well as it should be.
No.
So
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
a huge beast too, with as many escape
Yeah.
rooms as there are. Yeah.
Well, and there was a time where there were so many coming and going. I think if we went and
Mhm.
updated it here soon, it would probably be a little bit better because
Mhm.
I think they figured it out whether they're going to work or not, and there's not going to be so many pop-up ones anymore.
That's what we were getting. There's just so many either new ones coming up or unsuccessful ones dropping off, and it was super hard to keep up with.
Yeah,
There for a
we've
while,
probably
but-
done over 100 of them though, at least.
Oh, for
Okay.
sure.
We love rooms. There's a group of 4 of us that we've only had one game beat us. So in that group of 4. So
It's pretty good.
Yeah, if it's just me and Tyler, though, we kind of need 4.
It's about a 50-50 success rate.
Right. Do you find a lot of haunted houses do the escape room thing, like on the off season? Yeah.
Yes, we find a variety too. Like some are doing just the 3-minute escapes that are just open during haunt season.
Those are the most popular.
Yeah, but then you've got like the Darkness and Massacre who run their year-round escapes that are right there next to the haunts. So, well, I think Massacre's escape rooms take place in parts of the haunt, but there's some like that. Not as many as I think there were haunts that were gonna do it, and then because on the directory we can check a box on the back end that says has escape rooms, and I think I've unchecked a lot more of those in the past 2 years than adding new ones. So I think it's something that maybe isn't as increasing as it was, but it's kind of one of those things too. Like 3D haunts was huge here a couple years ago, and now it's fading out, but it's moving probably somewhere else. It's like all these things will just kind of move around. So I'm sure escape rooms are stronger somewhere else.
Right.
Too.
With like the 3D like paints with the 3D glasses. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a haunt near us that does the 3D, but they don't even give you the glasses anymore. So like it's just not a thing around here right now.
Yeah.
But
that's wild. They don't even give you the glasses, huh?
No, but they still run the exact same haunt. Like they just don't do it anymore.
Because we've been going to them for years and years and years, and now they don't do the glasses. It just kind of feels like they're milking it for all it's worth. Like we've seen so many 3D haunts too. We're like, can we do something else?
3D haunts are hard for them to be like truly immersive to us. I know there's some people out there that just absolutely love them, but the majority of them are clowns, and it's just harder to get immersed in them. I don't know, but yeah, we're
maybe it's because you can get like a bad pair of glasses or something like that.
And the glasses can be annoying. Like they just do.
The glasses were a real big turnoff, during COVID and stuff too. And I think a lot of folks realized how much they can save by not having to buy glasses. And they just like, people are coming anyway. They saw the big, huge spike in traffic and sales during COVID because there was nothing else to do, and then they realized, people will go through and enjoy the haunt without glasses, so we can save money. And
but it's worked in some markets, so I'm sure somebody out there could implement it and make it work.
When the average 14-year-old girl only comes through your haunt once every 3 years, it's probably great. So like, I don't know. There's probably not a whole lot of incentive to rip them out. Right? They probably paid a whole lot of money for somebody to come in and paint all that very elaborate 3D artwork,
right?
Stewardism and those kind of guys,
or spend a lot of time doing it themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm sure that's 3D paint. I'm sure it's a whole bucket of worms. That's a thing of its own.
Gotta figure out.
I don't see too many new ones popping up. I'll say that, but the ones that are that were done during that trend, probably back in the 90s or early 2000s, those are still hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit. So
did COVID affect your guys' reviewing at all? Did you guys still do reviews for 2020 or?
We kept on going just like nothing happened.
We thought if the haunts are going to open and try to do their thing, then we're going to get out there and try to do our thing too.
Yeah. So. The only thing we didn't do was we didn't host the Monster Bash one year just because the state didn't really want gatherings that large. So we thought we probably better not.
That was when regulations were changing like twice a week. And,
Yeah.
So,
but other than that, we put our masks on and went through the haunts as normal. We had to change. We didn't change our criteria, but we had to adapt a little bit. We had to tell the teams, like, for customer service, if a haunt was advertising that they were making people wear masks, that, that was a good thing. But if they were advertising it and then not following through with it, then we would kind of start docking some points for things like that. Because at first the teams were like, can we like increase the score if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing? And we're like, we don't have that in the. So it was a little bit of a learning curve.
And then some temporary criteria.
For makeup, it made makeup and masks a little bit interesting for the characters too, like when we scored them. So we
Right.
kind of had to adapt there because we're like, everybody's going to be wearing masks. So we have to figure out how to properly score this because some of them are going to look not normal, unless you were lucky
Yeah.
and had like that asylum theme where everybody was wearing a medical mask anyway.
Those were those were great.
Right.
Some of them were doing like the clear masks, hoping that you could see through, and it was just causing the thing to fog up and the makeup to run off, so that was kind of weird. And then other ones were doing the fabric, the cotton masks, but then they were airbrushing those to mask the rest of their makeup, and it's like, that's a good idea.
The airbrushed ones turned out really well. It was really cool for us though to see everybody else adapting to it and how they worked with it. So I'm glad it's mostly not a thing right now, but I mean, I know it's still there, but our restrictions aren't.
We figured out how to adapt.
For sure. Yeah. I wore a silicone mask, but I took like ace bandage and I wrapped it around my face, and that was my mask.
Okay.
And my brains were like, I had a mask that year where like my brains were exposed and stuff like that. And so I was like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. Heck yeah. There you go.
So that's just something I did personally. It was a wild experience as an actor that season, because like the way things like run normally, it was like so outside of that, So
yeah, and you could like hear all your customers, but you couldn't really see their mouths, and that's just different.
And all you have to go on is people going, just eyeballs getting that big.
Yeah,
and you're trying to like keep like even more distance than normal from them. It was wild. It was a good time though.
Yeah. I'm glad we kept on going though. It was a good learning experience. There were some reviewers around us that are friends of ours that did not review that year, but we just kept on going.
Just kept on, huh?
We did.
That's awesome.
Sometimes we were the only ones out on the road because we kept on keeping on with all of our businesses. Like we go out and get inventory to resell for eBay as our full-time job, and we were out doing that, and no one else was. So it was interesting.
It's a good time. Yeah. What is your guys' favorite like horror movie of all time?
Horror movie?
Yeah.
I'm a kind of a fan of the Saw franchise.
Saw,
myself.
okay.
I still don't understand how convoluted it is and all the story, but I like how gory and violent they are. It's a good horror genre for me. And then they recently just came out with the Saw X, Saw 10, and that one was
good.
It didn't disappoint.
No. For me, I think I have a favorite horror movie, but there's a reason why it's my favorite outside of like just because it's a good movie. So mine is 13 Ghosts. And the reason for that is me and my friend were probably like 14 when that movie came out. And our parents had to sign a permission slip to let us see it. So it must have been rated R. I don't know. And so when we went to the theater and she signed the slip for us and we got our tickets, no one was in the theater. No one else bought tickets except for me and my friend. So we sat in the aisle in this theater by ourselves and watched this horror movie. And that's my favorite movie because it was really scary watching it that way.
Awesome.
But it was fun.
That's awesome. When I go see movies, I always try to go like at weird times, like in the middle of the day, like a few weeks after, like when Evil Dead Rises came out.
Ooh, yeah.
I just like went at like super late at night, and I was like the only person in there. That's the best way to watch movies.
It is. It is.
Yeah, because I hate a packed theater.
For us on Evil Dead, I was laughing and people were looking at me. Because I was laughing. I couldn't help it. I just thought that woman was funny at times, and me and my cousin are laughing, and everybody's like, why is she laughing? And I'm like,
that's okay. I laughed a lot during that movie too. I love Evil Dead. So that scene where they're like in the hallway and that dude's finger gets bitten off and then spit back out, and then the other guy chokes on it. Dude, I died. I died. I was like, that's the funniest scene in a horror movie ever. Like,
it is so good. Now that makes me want to go watch it again. Like I loved that movie.
Yeah, it was really, really awesome. I thought it did justice to the Evil Dead franchise. So because sometimes you see these like horror movie remakes or whatever, and they don't live up to the expectations, and it's really
Yep. See, like
it's really
Jeepers
sad.
Creepers is like my favorite horror movie
Favorite slasher character.
character. But I
Yeah.
only like the first movie. I don't like the others because the first one's the only one that's good to me. I don't know.
Yeah. And see, my favorite slasher characters is Halloween, so
Okay.
Michael Myers.
Yep.
And it's like I can't complain about the new sequels because the original sequels are kind of crap anyway. Like Halloween 3 is awful.
That's everybody says that. Yes, we need to go back and rewatch them. Like I like Michael Myers too, but I can't remember all of the movies because there's so many. It's kind of like Jason and Freddy too. Like they're hard to remember which ones are which.
We need to go watch Nightmare on Elm Street because
that's true.
I think I have a confession to make. I don't think I've ever watched that movie front to back.
Yeah, he was telling me that the other day, and I'm like,
I've never seen it front to back
because there was something going on, and I'm like, that's from the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and he's like, I've never seen that, and I'm like, huh? Okay, we're gonna have to.
I'm an idiot because I've never seen it.
It's a good one, that's for sure.
It is. It's probably the best one out of all of them. Yeah,
it's a classic.
He's one of the
for
only
sure.
I
always find that and as far as like stuff like Saw, I really like Hostel. Hostel's really great.
Hostel's good as well.
Yeah, Hostel's hardcore, and that scene where that lady's like eyeball is hanging out. I think it's at the end of the first movie. That like scene lives rent free in my head. Every time I see like a torture chair in a haunted house or something like that, I'm like, yeah, there's probably a lady missing an eyeball.
Right? Yep. So one of the haunts that we went to this year, Nightmare on Edgewood in Indianapolis, Indiana, their second haunt was called The Factory this year. And they went with like this hostel style theme where you end up in areas where other people are watching you get tortured and they're getting bid on in this room. It's freaking awesome.
They took Nora and like held her up to a two-way mirror and they're like, bidder number 4 wants to know if you have any cavities, and we're like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
it's like
it's cool.
And there's another guy like holding a little camcorder, acting like he was recording us and shit, and he's like, oh fuck.
It was neat. It was a very good idea.
Are you guys more into like that more like extreme side of haunts? Is that
it depends? Like
it's everybody's favorite answer. It depends,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I had to choose between extreme haunt or classic haunted mansion, I would always go classic haunted mansion. But sometimes it seems like the more extreme haunts in this area are better in general anyway.
Right.
It's easier for them. Like I was saying earlier, like a lot of folks have a hard time focusing on scaring instead of entertaining. I feel like when they're off the leash, so to speak, and they're able to lightly touch or manipulate you a little bit, then it's easier for them to focus on scaring instead of just entertaining. And I think that comes off as making them feel scarier, and that's better, as far as at least our scores go. And I mean, we find ourselves going back during the off season too. So
I do like touch haunts when it's used appropriately. But there are extreme like facets of a haunted house that I just don't like. So it's like a thin line. Like if it's the occasional brush or touching you, like if you're walking down a hallway and your ankle gets not necessarily grabbed hard where you're going to fall, but like somebody lets you know that they're suddenly there, which a pool noodle can do the same thing, that I really like because it's like becoming interactive with me as a person and I can't like get away from it. So for me, it's just like the ones that are the closest to a horror movie that you can get would be my favorite. And those just happen to be the extreme ones over here in that case most of the time.
Right.
So it's something, I think part of it for me at least too, is like it's something else that helps pull you into the scene in the moment. Like it's a physical reminder, hey, this is what you should be paying attention to, not how stupid that picture looks on the wall or how goofy somebody's makeup looks for some of these people that just go through and think they can't be scared. Like it's something else to help break that.
But even a non-touch haunt could get interactive to where they could tell you to like do things or make you walk around so much stuff or make you witness things to where I think it would also work. So it's more about the ones that blur that line of reality, I think, than it would be the extreme shows. Because when we went to Blood Prison a couple weeks ago for their Christmas show, and they do a touch pass upgrade. And the last time we had been to Blood Prison, I have rods in my back that are like the full size of my back. So I have to be really careful with like actors bending me backwards and on tables and stuff like that. And the last time we were there, it was pretty rough touch haunt. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to buy the touch pass. And people are like, yeah, but you're the one on the camera. And I'm like, that doesn't matter. I don't have to buy the touch pass if I don't want to. And I opted out of it. So like, I because I know that one's like just a rough haunt. Like they do a lot of pulling and grabbing and pushing and some hair pulling. And I don't like that. Like that kind of stuff sometimes makes me mad. But like if they just want to do the creepy caressing and you don't know they're there, then so I wouldn't say
just to surprise you, something to
Yeah, so it's hard to answer. Now we have some other team members that will go for the extreme as often as they possibly can, and they don't mind the roughness either.
They look for the ones that are gonna pack them over their shoulder like a Continental Soldier and take them out through the haunt. You know, it's
that reminds me of that Sasquatch that one time that came up to me and picked me up, and he ran off with me, and then he just threw me down in the woods and took off in the middle of the haunt.
That's crazy. And you're like, what the hell just happened?
I don't know if he was an actor or not.
It could have been the actual Bigfoot. We
just don't know. That's awesome. Yeah, I was trying to be like interactive, even like, you know, if a group is moving slowly and there's groups catching up, I move them around. So like I'll make them go around like the same path like twice, like pass them through. You know what I'm saying? And people love that, you know. Or if I stop a group, you know, I have a whole backstory of, oh, you want to die, obviously you want to die slowly tonight, and I appreciate that. We want to torture you slowly. And I had this whole bit this last season about you know, I appreciate that, and since you're such good patients, you know, I'm going to offer you a deal, and the deal is buy one get 0 free lobotomies. And why I'm like screaming this at the people, you know, there's like people walking by and I turn around, yell at the people behind me in character, and and then they're finally like, oh, can we move now? I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's go, you pile of Abigails.
I never told you to stop. Why did you stop?
Speaking of Hellscream, I really liked the interactive aspect of it. So that was probably one of my personal favorites during season. And that's why, though, is because it was interactive and it was also close quartered in a lot of places.
Yeah.
So like it was hard to escape from what, you know, was scaring me. So, but I wouldn't say for the area, I feel like it was a more extreme haunt than the others that we went to. But compared to here, where like the extreme haunts will throw you up against the wall and stuff like that, it wasn't like that. But it was a very good interactive show, and I really, really appreciated it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Appreciate you know. Appreciate the praises. Yeah, it's a good time, and I know we've been like for like our blackout, we were experimenting with that, like the light touch this year for our blackout event. So that was cool, and we did a Christmas event. That was a lot of fun. I got to play the Scrooge.
See, I think the touching and the blackout would be a very good combination.
Yeah,
maybe it's not for actors that don't know to get away from customers if they try to punch or something, but
Yeah, well, and you know, it was made very clear that, hey, if you're not comfortable doing that, then don't just do your normal thing. You know what I'm saying? So that was very communicated, very clear with the actors. Hey, if you're not comfortable with doing it, then don't do it. Just do your normal thing and have fun. You know, because at the end of the day, you don't need everyone to touch your hair or grab your ankle or whatever, because then it ruins the illusion. You know?
Exactly. It becomes expected, and there's no surprise anymore.
Yeah.
Like some of the haunts we've been through where a lot of folks are yelling, and part of me too, I think maybe the camera brings it on a little bit because they're trying to ham it up for the camera and put on a good show. And like, but if you can tell if it's a group that's not real experienced, they all start like fighting for attention for the camera, and they all get into the screaming match to see who can yell louder than everybody else. And it's like, okay, it's time to go.
And when they start screaming like that, Tyler's gonna cut them out. So
I just cut them out because the viewers don't like listening to them scream either. You know, we've actually, you know, YouTube shows you like a retention graph, and where people start dropping off the video, and when there's a big section where people are screaming, it's bloop, they just skip past it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
don't do that. People don't like it. It's proof right there.
Right. Do you find like a lot of actors and stuff like that attack your camera and make it harder to review, or
Not, I wouldn't say
They
do it in a way that's like detrimental.
probably did
'Cause-
the first time that we took it because Tyler's camera got licked.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
And an actor grabbed him and shook him really hard while he had the camera in his
Wow.
hand. So, like, the more that we go, the haunts seem to be getting more used to saying, leave the cameraman alone. Make sure you just
Right.
do your normal thing.
Or they treat the camera like a person and they're just going into the camera
Yeah,
and doing, you
yeah.
know, they're understanding that there's somebody watching.
Tyler can't review it all, though.
Yeah. I'm so
Yeah.
Because
focused
he's-
on getting
yeah.
the shots, like you were saying, that I can't like actually be aware of my surroundings, and it actually makes me get scared a little bit more too if somebody comes up behind
Mhm.
me and does some stuff. Yeah, but I've also got I can't react because I can't drop this $6,000 camera rig
Right.
either. But
Right.
We'll have some more team members going with us this year to help with that because
Okay.
one person mostly doing the writing for that many haunts was way too crazy
Yeah,
last
we're-
year. And I'm going to help
Right.
Tyler edit next year. So we're going to have
There you
2
go.
additional writers
We're-
on our
Yeah.
team. So
What you
We're
need to
trying
do is
to-
get like a chest mount for your camera. So just, you know, it's just like mounted on your chest. You don't even have
Right.
to worry about it.
Right. I do have a gimbal that, you know, hangs on to it, and I've got a new strap and, you know, some different holders and things to help take the weight off. So it's really not too bad to deal with, and it's nice and steady and not jerking around. I can, you know, whoever's watching can see what's going on. But we are putting a lot more focus on video, at least Nora and I's team. So we are expanding our team
yeah.
to help with the, you know, to keep the writing side going. That way we're not
Right.
giving that up for the videos. We're going to try to keep both of them going. And
Right.
but then also we have to have enough resources to edit the reviews that are coming in from the other teams, and in addition to editing the haunt videos. So we're probably actually going to be looking at doing some outsourcing on like Fiverr and that sort of thing, because we actually noticed
some of that.
you know,
Yeah.
like I was saying, we was talking off camera. I think we got behind like 3 weeks. We were still
did.
posting haunt videos in November and December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like people are done watching by, you know, mid to late
Yeah.
November. So the sooner we
Unless
can
you're
get
a
them out,
haunter and want to watch it all year.
then
Yeah.
all the haunters start watching, and
Yep.
we still
Yeah.
keep a few views going to probably the middle end of December, and I think that's what it is the haunt actors are getting back on there and seeing who shot video of haunts this year. And we're
Right.
catching
Yeah.
big guys, but
And I enjoy your guys' Instagram videos, like the shorts
Thank
you guys
you.
have on Instagram, because it's just like it's always a different haunted house, and there's always something different going on, and I think that's really cool. You know,
those are all actually pulled from the long form videos. So
yeah. I feel like, you know, I feel like a lot of haunted houses is like hush, hush, hush for a very long time, and it's cool to see
Right.
like
it is very cool to see that they're
a community
expanding
try
and
to come together about it.
It
you
makes
know?
me want to go when I see something, even if I see exactly what happened. I still want to go because it's about that experience, and you just got to let yourself get scared too as much as you can. So, you know,
Right.
We thought the same thing when we started doing written reviews too. They're like, you talked about everything that's in my haunt, you just ruined it. And it's like, did we though? You know, it's like, reading about a haunt can never replace going to a haunt and actually experiencing it in person. And neither can watching a video, you know. And I mean, we've even talked about doing some 360 video stuff. And even if you're wearing a VR and doing the thing, it can't. It's not physical, you know. It's just eyeballs, you know.
Yeah, it's a different. It's like watching the trailer for a movie versus watching the actual movie. You know, it's just a trailer. So
Especially when we're doing like what we're doing, and we're clipping out dead spaces and doing the 60% rule. And
we've doing the videos. There's been a couple haunts that prefer us do like the review walk first without the camera, and then they want us to come back in with the camera, or vice versa. And even there was 2 haunts that we did it at this year, and even both times that we went through, the haunt was different. Both times.
Yeah.
Both haunts were different. Like we saw totally different actors, or the actors that we saw were doing something totally different. So, you know, you're never going to really get the same show over and over again anyway. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Yeah, I feel like it's different for each customer and interaction because there's so many different variables that go into play in one given evening of haunting, you know.
Yes, yes. People sometimes say that we talk too much in our videos, especially me, because I do talk a lot. But if I don't interact in the haunted house, like I feel like it's really boring. So I'm like, well,
Yeah.
screw you guys that want to walk through and just not talk.
Mhm.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm
just
gonna
keep your
talk.
head down and just
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's the fun
Yeah.
in that? You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the interaction is fun. I think that it allows the customers to experience a little bit more. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it helps with the immersion a little bit,
Yes.
you know, to
Mm-hmm.
have
It's one
the
of our heaviest weighted categories is, you know,
Mhm.
acting and scare factor, you know, and it's because, like I say, if you don't have a live person, then it's a museum, you know, and people can walk
right.
through and just look at stuff if they want. But the reason you have live actors is because you're giving a tailored and personal interactive experience
Mhm.
to a live person walking through in their group, and yeah, they're
Yeah.
made to be interactive for sure.
Yeah, it's an interactive experience. Of course, you don't want everyone giving everyone dialogue, but you know,
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want that roller coaster of different stuff going on, and
Mhm.
right? Yeah, it just can't be gore, 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 gore. You know, because you get
right.
desensitized to it.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Mhm.
well, I appreciate you guys doing this. This is really awesome. What are your guys' social media? Where could people find you that don't know?
I think we're on almost all of the socials at The Scare Factor. And our website is thescarefactor.com. But yeah, we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Thread.
Not really doing much on Threads or Twitter,
We're
but
on there,
we are on
but
there.
yeah.
And definitely YouTube. Please go to the YouTube channel.
For sure.
And the website.
And the website.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
tons of stuff on the website.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We've had fun on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.